Today we're talking to Brandon Steppe, the founder of the David's Harp Foundation, about how authenticity and purpose drive his life and how we can have contentment in the midst of some really difficult circumstances. Welcome to Happiness Adventure. I'm Lisa, and together we'll explore ways to cultivate real joy in our lives. You are the founder and director of David's Harp Foundation, and can you tell us a little bit about what that foundation does?
Absolutely. So we are a nonprofit in San Diego, California, and we have the pleasure of mentoring at-risk and homeless youth. And we do that through the platform of music and music production. So we have a full-on state-of-the-art studio in downtown San Diego where kids are welcomed in. And it's donated by Discovery Channel and Sony, and there's some just major people that came along to make this place a reality. And kids walk in from day one, that's their creative home.
Wow, that sounds really special.
It is, it's fun, it's really fun.
How did you come in your life and career to be doing this?
Whew, through pain, actually. So in 2006, I stepped out in faith and left a corporate job to pursue what I thought was a musical passion. So I cashed in my 401k and built a studio in a garage in Southeast San Diego. Wow. And through that process of building the studio, young people started to come knock on the door, and they wanted to do music, and they wanted to do hip hop beats and rap. And initially I told them no, because I was freelancing, doing audio, engineering mostly. But eventually we let them in, and they came into that space, and I got to see the passion for music that they had. And I got to see that music was a powerful platform to earn a mentoring relationship.
Wow. Now you mentioned pain. Where did the pain come in?
My wife was pregnant with our first child, Jasmine, and when she was about 6 months pregnant, she was diagnosed with bilateral cysts on her ovaries that were potentially cancerous. Yeah, and we were like, oh, okay. We went to the park and kind of had a moment. And that same day, she was also, our daughter was diagnosed with Down syndrome prenatally. So they did all these tests, and it was a really traumatic time for me. It was a time of digging deep and figuring out who I was, and who I wanted to be, and also just pouring myself into my faith. At the same time, I was 3 years into this studio, and young people were now coming continuously to the studio. I was trading good grades for studio time. So I was going from the hospital where she was for 3 months back to the studio constantly. And I was really trying to build mentoring relationships with these youth, but I was not having very much success until a day when I walked in and was able to just take off the mask with these young people. I let them know exactly what was going on in my life, and through tears, we're talking about 16-year-old young men from an urban area. And I was nervous about how they would respond to that, but they responded with them taking off their mask as well. So I found out what it was like to earn an authentic mentoring relationship in someone's life through this really trying moment. Joseph is one of the instructors, and he's actually our director of programs. But he goes inside East Mesa Juvenile Hall with youth constantly. And in that process, he's building these relationships. Well, the last check-in I went in, he was having issues with his newborn baby. So he sat down and he's like, man, I got a newborn baby, and I'm, almost 40 years old, and I'm tired. And the guys are just like, what is that like? These guys, these 16-year-old young men that are incarcerated, and they're like, wow. And he's like, man, well, that's where I'm at. Where are you guys at? But the information itself isn't as important as the fact that you're willing to share something. Yeah. Because the typical conversation that we have in society goes like this: how are you? Oh, I'm great. How are you? So when someone says anything other than "I'm great, how are you," people stop and notice. And it's not like you have to put on. It's just where you really are. Yeah. So.
And that enables true connection.
Absolutely. It's just what we get to see every single day, this interaction where the power of music is presented, and young people, even if they're, literally just checked in off from a shelter off the streets by themselves with no parental supervision, and the next minute they're in a studio with all smiles. It's amazing. It's an amazingly powerful platform.
Yeah. I think a lot of times culture says, fake it till you make it.
Right.
Don't let them see you sweat.
Right.
And actually the authenticity you're talking about brings people in, and it lets them know, me too. You know, we're all human.
Yes.
And creates that bond that's so special.
I think you hit it right on the head. And I mean, just to take it a little bit farther, it permeates everything if you allow it to. I've had so many more opportunities for these young people, even in funding, from just being honest and not going into a meeting with a funder going, oh, we're perfect, but saying, hey, you know, I'm a new leader, try my best here. Yeah. And I know we have a powerful thing and we have a vision, but we don't have it all figured out. Yeah. You know, but we need your help, you know, like that. It's just so much power to that approach in everything. It's the power of weakness. Yes. And when we are weak, we are strong. And I've found that out in a really real way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there a particular student you've worked with who has had a transformation journey through your program?
Yes. There are many that have gone on to literally go from 0 GPAs coming off the streets to 3.8 GPAs from trading grades for studio time. There are young people that have escaped sex trafficking through the studio and have been able to get back to family members. One in particular that's close to my heart right now, a young man named Jerry, and I have to use a fake name because he's in the juvenile justice system. He came into the studio a year and a half ago with a 1.3 GPA and traded good grades for studio time, and within 12 weeks had a 3.83 GPA. Wow. And on to a 4.0, had that for an entire year as he was on probation. So in a group home setting and on probation, was able to achieve that. And just recently, he got in a fight at his group home. And about 2 weeks ago, we went to court with him, and he's gonna be now incarcerated for 300 days on his last month of probation. And I'm trying to fight back tears because to see someone go through a transformational process, it's never linear. Yeah. It's never linear, it's always up and down. But when people can't see that process from the outside, sometimes it's really hard, you know? So that's one that's close to my heart right now, but he is gonna get out and we're gonna be there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I have hope, to be honest with you. I have a deep sense of hope. A lot of that comes from my faith. But I also I know that young people can always come back as long as they're breathing air. And I've seen young people thrive in situations that they never should have been placed in the first place. I see them escaping homelessness to make songs and have smiles. If people can experience joy and happiness in some level, in some way, that they find it in an authentic place where they're able to know that bad things will happen. And when they do, they can process it in a manner that will allow them to have joy in the midst of it.
For people watching who might not have as explicitly purposeful work as you do, what advice do you have for stepping out in courage and pursuing passion that makes the world a better place?
Sure. I believe that there are people in offices that if they stop focusing getting out of the office that they're in or the place that they're at the moment, would find so much contentment and joy in the places that they are. And that's not to say we don't dream and we don't want to step out and do amazing things, but I wasn't intending to step out and do something different. Yeah. I was just being present where I was at, and I almost missed it. You know, if we're honest, I almost missed it. I almost told those kids they couldn't come in because I was busy mixing a project. And there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for just being present in the moment and keeping our eyes up.
I've been speaking to Brandon of David's Harp Foundation about how we can be authentic and follow our purpose, finding contentment in the midst of our journeys. In the comments, I'd love to hear from you about a way that you could be more authentic in your life to garner the support of your loved ones. The link to Brandon's foundation and all of his resources are in the description box right below this video. Subscribe to Feed Your Happy with a bite-sized video each week, and I look forward to seeing you soon for our next happiness adventure.